will remind you that the goal or intention here is to directly experience what we're talking about, rather than conceptualizing, rather than having a thought or understanding of it. True understanding is direct knowing, it's a direct experience. So, even with something as nebulous, vague, abstract, mysterious as what I usually term the absolute or the one, it's important to understand that the understanding of that will dawn into direct practice, the direct experience. It's not something to continuously think about. Just want to re-emphasize that, so that you know to look within. If you hear me share a concept and it sounds intriguing, and you make some kind of a picture of it in your mind, inevitably, just understand that if you actually want to know that which the picture refers to, you're going to have to say goodbye to that picture and everything else, and dive within. Follow the steps rather than the logic, or actually the logic is quite good and helpful to evoke direct experience, but rather than follow the concepts and the linear idea of it, you have to actually apply it, become quiet, and experientially drill your way into that, penetrate into that mystery. So what does every experience have in common? Anyone? Regardless of its shape, size, color, feel. Cool. Nice. Good. You're aware of it. Every experience has in common that you're aware of it. Just that alone is so profound if you just stop to really ponder it. It takes you out of concept land and puts you squarely into that center state in between the infinite mystery and the world of form. Very simple diagram. The circle represents form, the world, subject, object, focus. Now the circle is the line collapsed in on itself, creating form, being aware of something, creating something. In its natural state, untouched, untarnished, unutilized, awareness simply is aware. So that's what represented by the straight line, which is also the bridge. It's the in-between point. This is what we're mostly wanting to get to. We're wanting to get to as direct an experience of the I am, the I is, the knower, the knowing itself as possible. Because from there we have a real shot at glimpsing or intuiting what's beyond it. When we're conceptualizing things, we won't have the capacity to intuit or remember or realize that we're beyond it. We first have to see very clearly what it is that we're going beyond. In order to do that, we need to change our direct experience of life, replace it with, instead of thinking about things, we need to begin to directly experience that all things appear in and as the I am. What is the I am? The I am is not the words I am. The I am is that which is, that sense of I am, before you even utter the words I am. That direct you is the I am. Before words were learned, were picked up, that only sense that then remains, that sense of isness, beingness. Again, if you want to understand this and actually do this process, you'll have to drop the concepts and go to that which is before the concepts, the words. That's the first step out of 2. It's only 2 steps. That's helpful though, right? Sounds complicated, but there's only 2 steps. B, become more aware of the fact that you are, that pure naked fact that you exist. Just that, awareness of the fact that you are. Not what you are, who you are, that you are is what you are. What you are is that you are. There's no distinction. The direct knowledge, the direct awareness that you are, that is what you are. Don't go look for something else. That is what you are. The being of it. The being of being is what you are. The knowing of the knower, of the I am, that is witnessing all these forms arise out of its own love and light. That is you, that is soul, that is isness, and there's no separation between that and God. It's the same thing. So rest into that state, that space, that I am, meaning turn your attention in onto itself. What is it that's aware? Just be aware of awareness. Or as Michael Langford says, awareness watching awareness. Just awareness watching awareness. Isness being isness. Just that. And as soon as you do that, you can let things go in the world of form naturally, because now you have something else to hold on to. We're always holding on to something. We're always grasping for something. If that something suddenly becomes the observer itself, then all the observed items are now allowed to pass through. They are allowed to be as they are. Just allow your sensations to be as they are, your thoughts, the sounds of my words. Allow it all to be as it is. Meaning, don't be bothered by it. Don't grasp for it. Don't want anything from it. Instead, utilize your energy differently by being aware of the witness itself. The fact that you are witnessing. Know the knower instead of the known. At any given moment, you can either know the knower or something known. And there will be a distinct difference in the flavor of your direct experience. When you know something known, there's a certain sleepiness, a certain delusion that is there, which you don't really notice until you wake up from it. But even 2 seconds of pristine, intentful awareness of awareness will give you a glimpse that will give you different taste, which will then provide you with more of a reference, more of a contrast, to begin to recognize and amplify the difference between knowing something known or being rested in your true self, which is the knower itself, being reflective of the knower. Awareness or consciousness can either reflect the forms that the mind projects and therefore take on that form, or it can become self-reflective. Awareness can become aware of awareness. So if you're ever confused throughout this journey for these 10 days, understand that that is because you're looking at an object, at a thought, an emotion, a confusion, a paradox, a state of being. You're looking at something, and you're trying to figure out who you are based on what you're looking at. But what you're looking at is never the same, and it wasn't there 1,000 years ago. So obviously it's not what you are. It may be who you are in the moment. It may be your expression in that moment. It may be your challenge or experience in that moment, and that's completely valid. There's lots of beautiful, fun things you can do with that once you understand the mechanics of this play. But it's secondary to knowing yourself when it comes to it. What is yourself? Obviously, it's not that which comes and goes. If it isn't already here now, it cannot be you. So we're not looking for something new here, because anything gained anew cannot be what you are. That means it has a beginning. If it's not here yet, and we're going to meditate really hard to create it, then you don't want it even if you get it, because it's not real. Because it appeared. Remember this statement, if you're ever confused. Your absolute self is that which never appears, which is another word for never becomes an experience of any kind. And think about it again, logic is very powerful even up to this ultimate level of mystery, and actually activating a direct intuition and sometimes even a direct realization, full-blown realization of it. Also, there's a difference between intuiting it. I'm 100% confident that all of you are able to intuit this to more or less degrees. I'm not 100% confident that all of you are presently able to directly realize it, because it's the weirdest thing that will ever happen to you. It's the absolute most insane thing. And it puts everything else in perspective instantly. Millions of years and lifetimes all put in perspective. In an instant, in a split second. But even intuiting the absolute self will give one a lifeline. It's like when you're fishing and you caught a fish. It's on the line. You don't have it in your hands yet, but at least it's caught. So now you can begin to reel in that direct realization at your own pace. But you won't be able to really go in that direction. You won't be magnetized towards that mystery, towards that true infinite realization. The absolute final state, which is stateless. It transcends all states, all experiences, because it never appears. Yet it's beyond everything, it's everything. It's everything. It's the real everything. It's the real all that is. So to intuit it is like to hook it up, to have your foot in the door, so to speak, to have this lifeline activated towards it, and now you can begin to reel yourself in. And all of you 100% can intuit, get a glimpse of, recognize, understand somehow, intuitively, instinctively, the absolute. I encourage you to not label things the absolute, to not be too lackadaisic about it. Sometimes people will talk about the absolute, like, again, they had tea with their mom yesterday. It's okay to refer to it in that way, but sometimes people talk about it as if it's their direct experience all the time, and trust me, you wouldn't be as you are if that was the case. You wouldn't be operating as you are. Your vibration wouldn't be as it is. You wouldn't be talking the way you talk, okay? This implies a lot. The direct realization of it implies a lot. It changes you forever. It's not a minor feat, and not all of you will fully realize this during this retreat. And that's okay. There's 3 intentions to this retreat. One is to have at least a glimpse or an intuitive sense to hook your hook into the absolute. Truly, genuinely. To not just conceptualize it, not just elaborate on it, not just make it an ego thing like, yeah, I experience the absolute. I experience it several times a day. Even though it's true, but you don't know it. So, first intention, well, actually this was the second intention on my list, but the first intention would be to get you to really profoundly enjoy your practice, to really allow you to be able to slide into a meditative state where that God state, which is very accessible to everyone, and you'll all have a much more direct experience of this during this week, which is the first manifestation from the absolute source. The first manifestation is the substratum of everything. So to be able to be in ease and in joy, and to begin for your meditation, so to speak, your contemplations to become effortless and enjoyable and like you're on a slipstream towards the ocean. Surrender, faith. Second intention being to either realize or glimpse the absolute. Third intention, to permanently change your outlook on life in such a way that that outlook will naturally inspire you to merge more with this absolute, to reel it in more. And of course, feel free to not use any of these intentions. You can replace them with your own if you so desire. Those are my 3 main duties for this retreat to deliver. The absolute is the mystery. It's the infinite mystery. It's not your image of the mystery, although that's good too. It's good to have an image of the mystery. The word mystery, I like it quite a bit because it has some potency, it has some power. Even though it's a concept, it has the power to reject all other concepts. If you just hold on to the idea of infinite mystery, wanting to realize, penetrate into the infinite mystery, being in awe of, in respect of the infinite mystery, something happens to the linear mind. It starts to silence itself. It starts to disappear. You bring into view this openness. You literally, if you could sort of sense your energy patterns, you would begin to open your crown chakra. You would begin to open up to that cosmic self, that mystery. All because you're pondering something that's not physically here, that's not what you're used to, that you cannot know. So it's okay to have some vague nebulous concept, even though it's still a concept. It's still a reference to something other than your true self. But it helps to dismantle the attachment to all the more linear concepts. Just to understand that you know nothing. Just to understand that everything that you do know is entirely made up. It's entirely agreed upon. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy speaking as if you are a person. You can. At some point you have to accept conventional reality and either flow with it, or you have to shut up forever and never say another word. And I'm always tempted. Ever tempted. But the next best thing to shutting up and forever being incredibly absorbed is to speak knowing that's an agreement, to share, to express knowing that it's false, knowing that it's optional. What does false mean? False means it's not ultimately real. It's a temporary arising. It's a temporary agreement. that deals or handles conventional reality. It addresses something in the conventional realm. Why? Ultimately, for the benefit of waking up the collective, for the benefit of empowering each individual free agent of this one infinite mystery to become more in tune with the one infinite mystery that we all are, that oneness. So when you understand that the function of speech and expression is to be of service and is to play with the relative world, you can also simultaneously see yourself speak and see yourself think and understand that it is optional. And you can even have fun without believing in it as a true identity. That's not so much the point of this retreat, but it's something that we'll address again in the last day or two when we're beginning to blend or hold the relative and the absolute view next to each other and walk with an understanding, with an acceptance of the relative view, understanding that it is an expression of the absolute, respecting it in that way. But again, the majority of the focus is going to be moving away from the relative views that we have, the relative addictions and attachments that we have, and entirely emptying out our soul, becoming naked, standing naked in front of the infinite leap. Chest bare, no secrets, nothing left to hide. And just open up, just surrender. To give your all back to the one. The emptier you are, the more you can see what you are. You already are what you are, but the emptier you are, the more you'll know this directly. The more you'll taste the kingdom of heaven and beyond. The absolute you is that which never appears. Ponder this. Because we can point to anything else but the absolute. Because anything we point to is an experience, it's conceptual, it's a perception, it's partial, it's temporary, it comes and goes, it's not always the case. Right now, even though we're blind to it, the absolute self is always the case. And we're going to uncover this, we're going to dive into this. Even love, bliss, awareness, all these things can still appear. They are still known qualities. They are still qualities. They are still states. Even the highest state, which I generally call the God state, although not separate from, is distinct from the realization of the true, absolute, infinite, perfect, indescribable completeness of the one. Beyond oneness, there is the one. Oneness is the first manifestation. If the one manifests anything and it has no knowledge yet of itself, what would it manifest? Oneness. AKA, love isness awareness. Or as they say in India, Satchidananda. Existence, consciousness or lucidity or awareness, and bliss or light. And as Ra states, the first expression or distortion from the absolute original one was awareness or free will. Those are essentially the same. Free agency is awareness. When there is awareness, now there is the capacity to utilize infinity, to tap into infinity and make it manifest, to make choices, to feel certain ways about certain things, to be aware of oneself, to know oneself. All that is an act of free will. Free will is awareness. Without awareness, there is no free will. The first distortion from the absolute infinity is free will / awareness. Or as they say, first infinity became aware. The second distortion, and they give three main distortions, which there's a lot of resonance there with Satchidananda. Awareness. The second distortion from that awareness then being generated is love. Because imagine an awareness that has no form yet. It's never known a universe. It's never known itself in any kind of form. It's just that capacity to know, just that pure, sheer, naked potential of knowing and choosing and being. Imagine that resting upon this infinite indescribability, never being separate from it, yet being distinct, being a first manifestation nevertheless. Because it has a quality, it has the quality of free will, it has the quality of awareness, which is a quality. Subtle as it may be, as formless as it may be, it still appears. That's why it's not the absolute level. From this state of not knowing anything yet except just being the capacity for knowledge, what would be the first urge or manifestation out of this? You don't know anything yet. You've never experienced trees, people, animals, concepts. The first thing that you can only create, there's no other thing that you could create from that state of infinite, formless, potential awareness. But if anything had to then become manifest, it would be love. Why? Because there is no separation. What is love? Love is simply a natural, formless state of energy, but we call it love because it sees no separation. To see itself everywhere as everything is love. An infinite awareness that hasn't separated itself yet, that hasn't created duality yet, that is still an immediate, formless, potential expression of the one infinite, the infinite unity. Naturally, its first manifestation, because all it knows is itself, its first manifestation will have to be some form of energy, but this energy needs to be love, and it needs to be formless. It needs to be unconditional. Only something formless can be unconditional. If it has a form, you can toss it around, it can be there, not be there, it can have an opposite, it can have another. Love is that formless, unconditional field of infinite energy, which is the first manifestation out of the infinite intelligence of awareness. Again, this still does not have form. You would not be able to recognize this with your senses. This state of love is a very high state. It's very mysterious to our minds. But it's manifest. It's the first manifestation, you could say. Awareness being the bridge, sort of being manifest, sort of not being manifest. It's more of a potential. It's more of that infinite potential of intelligence. Love being the first real manifestation, even though it's formless, and it's an infinite energy. But because there's no separation yet at this level, everything that comes from that foundation of knowing itself as itself. There's no separation, hence we call it love. You could call it other things too. You could call it infinite energy, or infinite energy. But we call it love because it makes sense to us. It's a decent word to use for it. Now we have the first two distortions, the first two primary ingredients of the three primary ingredients of all of existence, of all of creation. It's like the three primary colors. They make all other colors possible. From this infinite field of formless love, then arises the desire for manifestation, for reflection, for self-knowledge, for expression. What emerges is vibration, or light. So imagine this infinite intelligence of awareness, a free agency, beginning to work its magic, its mysterious intelligence, onto this infinite field of energy potential we call love, where there's no separation. And out of that magic, out of that intelligence, working its magic onto the first substance known to existence, love. What arises is patterns, vibrations, cycles, light. The third distortion is light, or you could say bliss. Love light is bliss. Now we have the three ingredients we need for any possible experience. Light enables experience. Light enables subject-object experiencing. With love and awareness, that's not possible yet. There's no duality. With light, now the potential for duality is made possible because these frequencies, these vibrations, these patterns will begin to take shape and form in different ways, and so diversity is born. Expression, creation appears. And all else is history. Then over millennia and many, many creations and universes, this free agency learns. This intelligence, God, learns. God is on a journey too. God is the ultimate soul. It's the soul of all things. It's the awareness, love, light of all things. It is the creator principle of the one infinite. It is the right-hand man or woman to the one infinite, absolute, indescribable mystery beyond every form, name, experience, perception whatsoever, out of which everything has arisen. It is that creator aspect. It's that first capacity to source things, to generate, to know, to be. That's God. And you will become much more familiar with this intuitively, directly, during this retreat. And you will glimpse, at the very least, you will glimpse that there is a distinction that you can realize, you can leap, quantum leap, into recognition of that one infinite mystery which blows everything out of the water. That original, true, absolute self-realization. Everything you see, taste, hear, smell, know, think of, intuit, uses awareness, love, and light. In order to be able to intuit the absolute, we need to establish ourselves in a more direct, familiar space or state of recognizing God, recognizing awareness, love, isness, recognizing the isness that we are before words, before concepts. Before you can utter I am, you already are. Go there. Recognize that. Go back before the first word, before the first concept. And you'll be intuiting and resting as and marinating in a direct experience of God, yourself as the self. Again, ponder this. Before you learned any language, there was something about you that knew that it was. Go back to that. When you were 2 years old, just playing, just looking at something, bewildered, not having any concepts to describe it, not having any understanding where it came from, what its function is. No labels. You were there playing, and you had moments of silence and awe and pure learning, pure potential awake learning. Go back to those memories and remember that you knew I am. Somehow, without words, before words, you were. That is you, just you, naked you. I am is another word for naked you. You without any additions. Before you say, I am, something is already there knowing it. Go there. Something already is. This is the key, the secret to everything. Use it wisely, desire it, crave it. Bring it into your life, though it already is. Make it more of a priority. Let go of your attachments. They are pale replacements of the true well-being that is already inherent in God, which is you. Go there where you know there's no separation between you and God. It is the same. Then you can start your own cult. Before I am, you already are. Before you say I am, you already are. Rest there, in that silence. Be in awe. How can you activate silence? By being genuinely in awe of something. Whenever, even if it's a concept or a form, or the Eiffel Tower, if you're genuinely in awe of something, there's a silence there. There's that original childlike nakedness, the naked you. Now, it might still be diluting itself by filtering itself with an object that it knows, instead of simply knowing the naked self directly. But you can use this as a reference point. When you are in awe of God, of the infinite mystery, truly in awe, it means you desire it, you're mystified by it, you're fascinated, you know the potential that it holds. Why are you in awe of anything? Because you believe it has a lot of benefit. Because you believe it's bigger than you can comprehend, or it's more valuable than anything else that you could be spending your attention on. That's the type of awe we want for the inner I am. Even if it is labeled as boring by your mind, you have to understand that before the words I am, that which you already are, to go into that over and over again, it will penetrate and activate something truly transcendent and liberating. It is your path. To infinite knowledge. Healing. Love. Embodiment of wisdom. So stay before the words, I am. That is, I am. That is the knower. The knower is that which is, before anything else is focused on. Know the knower. Be more in awe of the knower than you are in awe of the known. Replace the temporary and finite with the gateway. The I am is the gateway to the infinite. So it may not seem as exciting as the endless diversity that this world offers, that this illusion provides. It may not seem as fascinating or exciting at first glance, but that's because you're looking at a shut door. The I am, as most people experience it, is like a shut door. They can recognize that it's there. A certain fragrance comes off of it that's different than being aware of form and objects. To know the knower has a luster to it, a radiance, a clarity, sense of mystery, but the door is still closed. It's just a little breeze coming through the keyhole. But it's the doorway to the infinite. Infinite. To know yourself as infinite is to know yourself as beyond all time, space, any mental container, any assumption, any body, any mind, any world, any separation, even beyond love and light. But don't worry, it's much better than love and light. know the knower. Right now there's two main domains that you can focus on. What you perceive or that you perceive. Rest awareness in the direct knowledge that you are currently being and perceiving. And right there and then, you're transcending the conceptual realm. You're getting in touch with your true self. And trust me or don't trust me when I say all power comes from this. All truth comes from this. All bliss, all love, all access comes from this. Would you rather have access to the color brown and black just because they fascinate you? Or would you want to have access to the three primary colors so you can produce any color? Your true self is like that. It's that which every experience universally has in common. Your I am is that locationless I from which, the center from which every reality, every potential is accessible. Every other being is accessible. That's why it doesn't matter where you are around the world or this galaxy. As soon as I know you, have a representation of you, I can sense you, your body, your mind. Not because my body can do this over distance, but because I am that which you are. And from your true self, which is my true self, I can reach in to any point in space and time, sense into any point, space and time, any being, and connect in that way. It's from within, like the picture I drew on the first day. Or maybe it was the Wednesday session, actually. So you are the timeless. I am the eternal present, from which all these timelines appear. There's no past and future from the state of true I am. You will feel that the concept, the sense of time will begin to disappear. And there's this ever-present radiance of self that emerges. Ever reliable, ever radiant, ever free. No matter what's going on with the body, the mind, and the circumstances, or your relationships, or your finances, that inner self always is, always radiates. If you can contact that, you're always in possession of the three primary ingredients of all of existence. The more that door of the I am, the true direct knowledge I am, before words, before thoughts, opens, the more you stay there, the more the door opens. The more you abide in the I, the more that door opens, reveals its infinite energy nature, its infinite awareness nature. And that's really where bliss starts to enter into your reality without any cause being required. Causeless bliss. Bliss because you are, period. Well-being because you are. Joy, abundance because you are. That's it. All doors wide open. Source can blow right through. All your orifices and senses just comes pouring out. You develop a radiance naturally, simply by resting in your natural condition, your natural state. Which is that which initially is sensed as the ordinary sense of awareness. But just watch that ordinary sense of awareness, the knower, and it will reveal its infinity in due time. That door will open more and more, and every time it opens more and more of the original God state of love, light, isness will pour through your particular individuated keyholes or chakras. So you could say there's the body I am, which is usually what people can tap into very easily. Is that I am that's located around the body. It has a location, comes with a sense of sort of a tangible presence of being here and now. Comes with the sense of the body, the presence of the body. There's that I am, which is God's infinite energy focalized through a particular foci of space-time manifestation. Then, having become identified with the body, it now senses or feels or believes that it is located inside that body, or that it has something to do with that body. But you have to understand, God has nothing to do with your body. Doesn't mean your body is separate from God. It just means that God, from God's point of view, is not dependent in any way, shape, or form on the existence of your body. You are that God, looking at your body all the time. But because it has been enveloped and cloaked by this conceptual sense of the sense organs, giving you the idea and the feeling that you are here and everything else is outside of you, you have generated the I am to be less pure. Now it's the I am over here, or I'm the body. Just distill that, purify that. Go into the I am and see that the I am, the actual direct experience of I am, is not the same as the experience of the body being here. Because you can experience I am, you always are I am, but you don't always experience or are not conscious of the body being here. That comes and goes. So what's the I am? That can both be aware of the body or not be aware of the body. That is I am. And it has no form. The body has actually never entered into the I am. The world has never actually became manifest inside of the I am. It's never reached. The I am is ever free. It's ever beyond form. This universe is a holographic projection. It doesn't exist as a manifest world. Is Tom Cruise really there when you see him on the movie screen? Not right now, thank you. This is a guided meditation. May not look like it, but it is. So be. You already are. Now simply notice that you are what you already are. And through repeated recognition, it will shed its layers, its skins, its conceptual mental containers of location, space, time, body, personality. And you will begin to know the naked I. That essence which resides in all beings, in all things. That which is at the source of any projection whatsoever. That is I. I is source of all projection. I is love, isness, or beingness, and awareness, or consciousness, or lucidity, or knowingness. The knower is love, isness, awareness. The knower is the true God I am. Still yourself. Become humble, pure, and in awe. Realize that you don't know anything, but you've just been given a key to the universe. You don't quite yet know how this key works, but be in awe enough to be silent, to be humbled, so that this key may show you how it works. If you're in awe enough, you will drop in. God is within. Meet the you, that is God. Infinite, eternal, love, joy, awareness. Want to penetrate beyond this illusion. Want to know the self. Remember, this is an illusion. You've never actually been here. You just continue to think you are. When that denseness of that imagined, perpetually imagined limitation begins to drop off, this is when the infinite ocean of bliss begins to enter your vessel, your keyholes, your chakras. Surrender. You can never separate yourself from God, no matter how hard you pretend to be a separate individual. You'll never succeed because everything you will ever experience is made up of God. You are a borrowed projection. You are borrowed energy. Everything that you currently sense is you. Any sensation of location, of body, of mind, of relationship, of identity, of purpose, all these energies, all these sensations are inseparable from the God state of love, isness, awareness. The natural state is all pervasive. Projections are just holographic, empty projections of the self. So already you are the self. Already the world is the self. So you're not actually giving up your life. You're just realizing that you never had one apart from God. You never had a life apart from God. Again, what we call our life is nothing but arguing with God. Our entire personal existence is nothing but a lack of faith. Arguing with God. So all we're doing here is we're giving up the argument. We're surrendering. We're having faith. We're cultivating faith. We're learning to recognize the true nature and essence of every appearance, of everything that is known. We begin to sense the infinite knower in all that is known, which would be the same as going from a state of delusion, of looking at a painting and seeing brown as if brown is its own color, to the enlightened view of the painter, which knows that brown is a combination of the three primary colors. So the painter is able to see the essence, the true nature of brown, whereas the untrained eye will see brown as if it is its own manifestation, apart from the essence of God. So too, with our feelings, our emotions, our challenge, our sense perceptions, our relationships, our entire concept of being, all that has never existed in its own right. All of that is God, appearing manifest. But you see, God can never manifest because God is formless. God is energy. Matter does not exist. It just appears like it does. Your senses do not exist apart from God, apart from love, light, isness, awareness. Try to find your senses apart from awareness. What you call your means to exploring the outside world, your sense organs. See if you can be aware of your senses without awareness. Can you use them apart from awareness, apart from this feeling of beingness or love, and apart from them appearing light? Sense organs appear. You can see them, you can know them, they have a form, right? What is that? That's light. Light is based in what? The infinite energy of love. Love is based in what? The infinite intelligence of free agency or awareness, which is that which is aware of the sense organs. You have never experienced your sense organs apart from that which knows it. Inseparability of form and emptiness, or the true self and the world. As Sankara said, I believe it was Sankara or Shankara, the world as the world is unreal, but the world as Brahman, which is God, is real. Brown as seeing the primary colors in that brown is real. Seeing brown as its own independent, separate manifestation is unreal. The more you see God in any experience, the more that God begins to outshine, the more that awareness of Source begins to outshine, the more the recognition of the natural, unconditional, inseparable, basic state which all things are made of and are rested in already, timelessly rested in the natural, true, perfect, basic state of pristine, naked awareness, love, isness, light. To see that as appearances arise is to outshine the appearances with God, to replace the delusion of the separate, independent thinker and projector with the inseparable natural state of God knowing itself as all things. Know the knower. This is your key. Let that door open a little bit wider as I continue to speak and describe the bliss and the journey and the abundance and the fountain of infinite well-being that's ahead. Peek a little bit more. Open that door of I am before words a little bit more. Become a little bit more fascinated. Gain a little bit more respect for the knower of the known. Lose a little bit more interest in that endless chain of diversity, and place your attention on the self. Become fascinated with the innermost sense of I. And allow all sensations and sounds and feelings and thoughts to be seen as waves made of water, as appearances made of self, as projections made of I am. Sense your I, your awareness, presence, light. Begin to see all projections, all experiences as being made of that light of God. This is the non-conceptual, direct path, truth of what you are. This is a high-level teaching, and it needs awe and respect to blossom. Value it. Begin to value it. Open that door more and more. The Absolute just walked in. Good. You've never, this is the delusion, that you think you've ever experienced something apart from yourself as that spacious, wide open, infinite awareness, love, isness, or God. To end delusion means to understand directly, to apply every day, over and over again, the recognition, to stop your mind for 2 to 5 seconds and recognize all appearances as coming from, being rested in, and being incapable of ever leaving the basic ingredients of love, isness, awareness. That is to recognize the essence of the thing, rather than the thing and the name of the thing, which is mental and outward and externalizing. It creates duality, it creates the sense of an outer world and a me. To recognize awareness, love, isness as the source of all things, and to recognize all things as that source, is the end of the individual assumption, or at least the beginning of it. Also, try not to be aware and see if it works. Try not to be naturally awake, existent. Try not to exist right now and see if it works. Keep checking if it works. Keep checking if you can be not aware. It's a great way to drop deeper into the knower. To recognize that the knower is, in truth, secretly always already here, always already radiant. It doesn't need any tinkering. You just need to purify yourself. You just need to take off the layers of false assumptions. How do we do that the quickest? We can do it through other concepts. There's many tools and methodologies that have relative effects. But the direct and more absolute effect is to rest in the natural state and allow all things to rise and dissolve, revealing their true nature as inseparable from God. So now that you've tried to not be aware and you checked and you see that you failed, you cannot not be. You cannot not already be perfectly timelessly free and spacious and awake and aware. Now see if you can find any one of your experiences apart from this space of awareness. See if you can know something outside of the knower, separate from the knower. See if you can find a sensation or a sound apart from the knower, which already is. Let this restful, timeless, self-aware awareness naturally pervade and take over the delusions of separation. Let them be naturally released. Let all seemingly separate sensations be as they are, and dive into the restful light of love, isness, awareness, recognizing that there's no experience you've ever had or ever will have or are having now that can be separated from this isness awareness. Without the knower, there is no known. This is why the universe isn't really manifest, because all that is known exists as the knower. Like your dream at night. When you wake up, you realize it was all a projection of mind. You had senses when you dreamed. You had ears. You heard people communicate with you. You saw people. You felt things. You tasted good foods. But when you wake up, you realize that those senses were nothing but mind. That's why I say the manifest actually doesn't exist. Because it's all consciousness. It's all the free agent using love and light to generate different illusions, different hallucinations, different patterns. Know the knower, and you know everything, because there's nothing that exists outside the knower. You are the knower. You are source. You are the self. God alone is. Only God is. At first it feels like you are recognizing God. First outside, then within. But the longer you spend time with that practice, the more you sink in, the more you realize that there is no you recognizing God. Only God is. This is when it begins to outshine the world of form, separation, concepts, and individuation. This is the I. This is the I aware of the I only. This is the pristine, naked, direct experience, fully absorbed. God intoxicated with its own fragrance. While it can still intelligently paint all colors, all forms, it never loses sight of itself. It's always anchored in the I, beyond the appearances. Only God, you, is. You and God are not two. That's just another mental projection. What could exist apart from the love light? There's no movie that exists apart from projecting it with the light onto the screen. There's no individual anywhere apart from God projecting an illusion. So you see, in truth, only God is. What is God? God is that which is. Rest in that natural light, that natural luminosity, that natural sense of being, which radiates out from your keyholes. Trust that light. Trust it. enter that stream into the ocean. Raindrop, ocean, river, mist. It's nothing but water. Only God is. All of you is God. There is no you. Everything that you experience is God. Everything is source. There is no manifestation. There's only the appearance of manifestation. There's only God. Know the source intuitively. The I am before you say I am. The beingness before ideas about being or not being. Trust that. Open that door. Let it purify itself and reveal that it is beyond space, time, and location. In fact, space, time, location are just thoughts. They were never manifest. They just seemed real. Location is a thought. Location, the sense of you being here in a room, is a thought. It's a myth. When you directly experience it from a state of awareness, it will dissolve like mist in front of the sun. Already the I am has no location, you see. Your beingness cannot be tied to the thought of the body in a location. It's impossible. You think it happens, but it doesn't. Already the self rests. The self that you are already rests timelessly, free of any conceptualization. It just beams like a motherfucking sun. Indestructible, formless, bright. You are the infinite already. Unimagine limitation. Undo decades of perpetual perception of location and a body. Undo it. And be free, beyond measure. Be untouchable by anything that happens in this world. Be source, no matter what. Be love isness awareness, no matter what. Only that exists. Simply stop adding anything else. Stop pretending there is something else. This is non-duality. Only God, source, love, isness, light exists. Just to know that is faith. If you can maintain direct knowledge, direct awareness, direct perception that only God is, and you stay in that nakedness, even if it's for half a second, for that half a second, you taste the meaning of faith. You taste the absence of any argument with God, which would otherwise perpetuate a projection of separation. Only in the thought-free state of I am, in that absorption, in that awe of only God is. That is faith. As soon as you begin to argue and think for yourself, it's not a problem. It's part of the expression of the one. But know that it is dropping down the level of faith. Know that only God is throughout all intelligent appearances and expressions. Know only source. And for even if for 2 seconds you know only source is, that is faith. That is when the Son and the Father are one. That's when there is no distinction. That's when you are the Father. That's when the I am is the I. Show me something that isn't God. I'll give you all your money back. Show yourself something that is not the universe. Show yourself something that is not existence. Show me something that's not occurring due to and inside the knower. Show me something real outside of it appearing to be there. Have you ever experienced something real apart from the perception of it? What if the perception of it is all there is and there is no it? There's no manifestation. There's only source projecting and thinking. What if all things are the one infinite creator perceiving itself? You've never experienced an object. You've only experienced experience. And experience has no independent existence apart from the knower, which is God. All exists in and as the knower that you are right now. Rest in that, and the illusion will collapse back into the first truth of the primary state of God. Be the knower. Know the knower. Ignore the known. For now. Give away the known. Give up the known. Dive into the mystery of the infinite safety of the knower itself. Source. Let source outshine the known. Let it become more important than the known. Let God overtake the world. Let God rule your world. It's all there is anyway. It's infinite God. Infinite love and joy, and mystery, potential. Infinite sourcefulness. Infinite awareness. None of this is tangible, physical. It is all the mysterious. Knower. Know the knower and then have faith in the knower. Surrender to the knower. Which means you drop your attachments to your belief that things exist apart from this knower, or need to be attended to apart from the natural state. Do you really think you are a better creator than God? Do you really think you're more intelligent and more wise than God? Do you really need to take up a separate stance to create your life? Or can this naturally happen from the knower being itself, from the mystery sensing itself? Can you let God do the work? I dare you. Let go of that sense of independence, for it is the source of your suffering. You're not independent. You're absolutely stuck to God, to the infinite, to the all that is. You have never existed as a separate entity, ever. What you thought of as you is nothing but an amazing one of infinite, different movie projections that you are creating. You as source are appearing as all that. But there is no separation, and there are no independent beings or women. There is no independent creature anywhere. Oh, God is right. Oh, God and only God. I invite you, I dare you to let go as much as you can of the illusion of doership for the duration of this retreat. Only God is. Do not think separate from God. Do not think apart from the original one. Do not step out of God. We step out of God, even though it's not possible. We create that illusion. We think ourselves outside of God. We imagine limitation of the body, of space, time, location. But none of these appearances have ever existed apart from God. They don't have manifest powers. Tom Cruise has no power apart from the light that projects it, no matter how separate he seems on the screen, no matter how much action he seems to take in the world of Mission Impossible. None of that exists apart from the light. Tom Cruise has no independent existence. Know the light, and you know all things, rather than just one thing as yourself. Know the light, that which is God, and you know all things, instead of just one thing as yourself. If you know the light which enables your current sense of being here, that is source. You know all things, rather than just one thing as yourself. Know the I am. And you know the essence of all infinite potential realities, all infinite projections, all diversity comes from the one self that you can access directly, transcends anything called human, anything called psychology, It is the I am. It is God. It's the truth before you became a human being. Who were you 100,000 years before your birth? Only that has ever existed. Nothing else has isness. You can see, just clearly, directly see. If anything but isness has isness. Only isness is. Only God is. All else appears to be. But only isness actually is. This is just a waking up of the truth, to the truth, and getting used to it. It's not complicated. It's very simple. It's just a waking up from the delusions, the perpetual, limited imaginations, superimposed upon the self. You're now getting used to no longer exiting God. Stay in faith, which is to know only God. To side with only God, for to side with God is to side with all things. This is the most liberating type of stuckness, where everything is stuck to itself. It's weirdly liberating, vast and infinite. There only is the infinite. Notice that you know. Notice that you are. And be that. Surrender to that. Be in awe of that. Give yourself to that. Be grateful to that. Without that, none of your separative thoughts could even be. None of your enjoyment would even be here. Pay some respect to Source. Spend some time knowing the Creator, for that is the original intention behind the illusion of creation, so that the Creator may know itself and express itself. Knowing itself is self-realization. Inseparably from that flows expressing itself, which is empowerment or actualization. Both are functions of the one. Through expressing the one, we eventually wake up to the one. We begin to investigate and contemplate. And then the truth begins to take over occupancy. Occupancy of our brain, occupancy of our movements, occupancy of our thoughts and our beliefs and our relationships. Let God take over occupancy. This thought that you have that you're a separate me, with a will apart from God, is the illusion that's causing the struggle. You've never been separate from God. Only God is. God is that which is. There's not much that has isness apart from isness. In fact, nothing has isness. Only isness itself is. And if it isn't, then how could we say it's real? Only isness. This is your refuge. This is the end of your world. I'm sorry. Only isness is. the world has never been. Only you are. All else only appears to be, but is not. All things except you, which is the one, lack isness. Only you are. Only God is. Only Source is. This is the truth. Get used to it. Welcome to oneness. So you see, when I say just be, it means much more than just be means to most minds. Just be means be one with God in absolute faith that only God is. Do not exit your natural state of already here, wide open, endless, formless, free beyond time, space, and location and form. Awareness, love, isness, joy, freedom, infinity, transcendence. The knower is not a thing. The knower is that formlessness which enables the appearance of all things which in truth are not. Like a dream inside the dreamer. Know the dreamer, and you know the dream for what it really is. That is bliss. To be aware of being is bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. Existence and awareness of that existence is bliss, love, light, knowledge. This is the only true knowledge. All else is conceptual. Primary knowledge, the first concept, the first existence, is that of love, isness, awareness. Awareness, love, light. Be that. Be that. Be that. Remember it over and over and over again until it becomes more and more automatic. Remember it. Penetrate it. Know the knower. Know the knower. Know the knower. Drop the known. It's not interesting. Know the knower. You want a real journey? Go into Source. The source of all things. That which has no form. Now that's a journey. That's an adventure. All the diversity in the world couldn't be nearly as adventurous as losing yourself in the infinite. Value it. Arrogance is not valuing it. Pretense, falseness, ego is arguing with it. Pretending it's not the case and making a life out of that. Again, your life entirely exists of arguing with God. Your life equals arguing with God. Only God is. Your life is just an argument. This is release. This is liberation. And it only is given to you if you want it. And it's okay if you don't. You're still not separate. You still don't exist. Can either be God with delusion or God with less delusion. Your choice. God with suffering or God with less suffering. God that forgets itself and takes the world as real and independent and manifest, or God that remembers itself as the source of all projections and thus then eliminates the appearance of an existent world outside of source? What if you wouldn't need any techniques or tools to get back to source or God? What if you were God, seeing yourself as the source of the projections that appear, instead of being the person that's at the whim of the tools to reconnect? Why not be the source that you're connecting to and drop the person that escapes it, that argues with it, that exits it? Why exit your original conditionless state of being, love, isness? Why not explore that? Why not rest attention there and be curious? Take a voyage into that unknown and see exactly how infinite the I within is. How far beyond the illusion of a world can you go? Keep awakening. Keep reviving awareness of itself. And explore that awareness. See if you can find a border, a boundary, a skin line to that awareness. Where does it begin? Where does I, or I am, begin? When does it begin? When does I, or I am, begin? When and where does it end? You see, it's a timeless, eternally present, primary existence concept. All other concepts are derived from the primary concept of the I. God's ego, God's I am. Know God and you know all. Know the knower and you know all that is known. And all that needs to be known. Dive into that freedom. For the first time, perhaps, you have something to explore, to dive into, to meditate on, to unfold, to want to see how far the rabbit hole goes. That's not an object. The true mystery, the true existence of yourself is now accessible to you. Enter it like a portal. Awaken there, not here. There's no here. Awaken into the I, that is, into God, into the innermost sense of I am, or me. Awaken into that. For the sake of your meditation outside, I highly recommend you keep silent during the lunch. Solitary, silent, as much as possible. If you're driving together and stuff, that's fine. But just stay silent and keep to yourselves. Unless there's some kind of an emergency, perhaps.